All right, I do believe we're ready. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I would like to call to order the Ferndale City Council meeting for Monday, January the 9th, 2012. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm proud to introduce to you this evening to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance the Ferndale Cub Scout Pack 1245.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All those in uniform salute. All those not in uniform, hand over your heart. Please remove all hats. Please turn and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Again, that was our Ferndale Cub Scout Pack 1245. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it. We need a roll call. Oh, no, we don't have that down here. Our next item of business this evening would be an invocation. This is something we do once a term. And to lead us in the invocation this evening, I would like to introduce Reverend Dr. Scott Miller from the Drayton Avenue Presbyterian Church.
Let us pray. Almighty and ever-loving God, you hold both the destiny of nations and the humble life of communities in your gracious care. We thank you for the city of Ferndale, for all who live and work here to make it the welcoming and neighborly community that it is. We thank you for all who have responded to the call of public service by the giving of their time, talent, and energy on the Ferndale City Council. We pray this evening especially for Mayor David Coulter and Council members Dan Martin and Mike Lennon. Bless and guide them as they take the oath of office, that they may do their work in a spirit of wisdom, compassion, and justice. Help them and all the members of the City Council to serve this community faithfully and to work for the common good, that Ferndale may remain a city where all are welcomed, accepted, and affirmed as human beings made in your image and graced with your love. All of this we pray in your most holy name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you very much. Our next order of business would be the inauguration of the 43rd Ferndale City Council. I'll ask our city clerk to lead this item.
I am pleased to welcome the Honorable Judge Joseph Longo, the judge of the 43rd District Court of Division, to lead the oath of office for David Coulter, our new mayor, and Dan Martin, one of our new council members.
This side. Let's do Dave first. You raise your right hand. Do you, David Coulter, solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, and the Charter of the City of Ferndale, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of mayor in and for the City of Ferndale, County of Oakland, State of Michigan, to the best of your ability?
I do.
Congratulations, Mayor. Would you raise your right hand? Do you, Dan Martin, solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, and the Charter of the City of Ferndale, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of City Council member in and for the City of Ferndale, County of Oakland, State of Michigan, to the best of your abilities?
I will.
Congratulations.
Lennon, Judge of the Oakland County Circuit Court, to administer the oath of office for Michael Lennon.
Mr. Lennon, it's my honor to ask you to raise your right hand, sir. Do you, Michael Lennon, solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of this state, and the Charter of the City of Ferndale, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of City Council member in and for the City of Ferndale, County of Oakland, and State of Michigan to the best of your ability?
I do.
Congratulations.
Now it's my pleasure to call the roll of the 43rd Ferndale City Council. Council members Galloway,
Here.
Lennon,
Here.
Martin,
Here.
Tiana,
Here.
and Mayor Coulter.
Here, thank you. We have a quorum. Our next item of business would be the approval, excuse me, of the agenda. Oh, my goodness, that is correct. I skipped item number 5, excuse me, the inauguration of the 4th Ferndale Library Board. It is my honor to administer the oath of office to the members of the Ferndale Library Board. 5 members are being sworn in, 3 of whom I believe are here this evening. Judine Bartos, Monique Herzig, and James O'Donnell. Are you here this evening? If you are, why don't you come on up to the front? Did I miss anyone? I was under the impression that the other 2 weren't going to be able to make it. All right, come on up, and we'll do you as well. Yeah, let's do that. Come on. We're going to do all 3 of you at once, so come on up. We're going to do a group swing. All right. I'll say I, and then you say your name, okay? And then I'll read the rest of the oath, and then at the end say I do. All right? Very good. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Library Board Director in and for the City of Ferndale, County of Oakland, and State of Michigan to the best of my ability. Congratulations. Thanks for your service. Congratulations, and thank you for your service on the library board. Now we would be to the part of the agenda that is the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda that anyone would like to make at this time?
Your Honor, I would ask that we add to the agenda at the end of the regular agenda consideration of the tentative agreement with the International Association of Firefighters.
Support. Scott has, Councilman Galloway has moved, and Councilman Lennon has supported tentative, adding item C to the regular agenda, the tentative agreement with our firefighters. Any other additions or changes to the agenda? If not, a motion would be in order.
I would move that we adopt the agenda as amended.
Moved by Galloway, supported by Lennon again. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Galloway,
Yes?
Lennon,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Tiana,
Yes.
Mayor Coulter.
Yes, thank you. That agenda is adopted. Next order of business would be presentations this evening. Our first presentation is from the Ferndale Public Schools, and I'm looking to see, yeah, there she is. Anxious to hear all the good things happening at our public schools. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Stolger, Communications Specialist for the Ferndale Public Schools. First, I'd like to let the public know that the Ferndale Board of Education approved placing a bond on the February 28, 2012 ballot
that would provide funds to keep buildings as up-to-date as possible, providing the best learning environment for Ferndale School students. Voters in the Ferndale School District will be asked to consider a $22.8 million bond program to fund facility improvements, student safety enhancements, technology equipment, and energy-saving measures. This proposal extends the current bond issue beyond its scheduled expiration in 2023 to 2041. For more information, visit the Ferndale Schools bond pages on our website, ferndaleschools.org. We have a comprehensive frequently asked questions section, the official ballot language, and a complete list of proposed bond projects. We also have created brochures with factual information that are being distributed around town this week. It is time to start thinking about kindergarten for next fall, and we have some kindergarten roundup information. This Wednesday is Kindergarten Information Night at Grant Early Childhood Center. That's January 11th. A pizza dinner is being served at 5:30, and the information starts at 6. If anyone is interested in coming for dinner, please RSVP to 248-586-8686. At the Kindergarten Information Night, we'll have representatives from Roosevelt and Kennedy to talk about the programs at their schools. You'll get to meet principals, some teachers, and learn about the programs that we have to offer and the deadlines that we have coming up, including our Magnet Program Lottery deadline of February 29th. It's also time to start taking tours of our buildings. Tours are offered at both Roosevelt and Kennedy weekly. If one of our tours doesn't work in your schedule, you're more than welcome to call the enrollment office and find out when other times might be available. Again, the enrollment office number is 248-586-8686. Our biggest event of the year is coming up. It's called our All-City Extravaganza, and it's Saturday, January 28th from 12 to 4. It's our district-wide showcase, and it's an opportunity to come learn about the Ferndale schools, see teaching and learning that happens in our classrooms. We're going to have teachers doing presentations directly from their lessons. Their students will be there demonstrating what they are learning in their classrooms, and we are inviting anyone with all ages to come and experience that and learn about what happens in our classrooms. And it's also an opportunity to hear our outstanding music programs all day. At 1, we have an all-city choir concert, which is grades 4 through 12. At 4 p.m. is the band concert, and at 7 p.m. is the orchestra concert. It's a free concert available to anyone in the community who wants to come out for an hour and hear fantastic music. And we also want everyone to know that strollers are welcome. It's a family-friendly event. On Tuesday, February 7th, we are hosting a community breakfast in conjunction with the Ferndale Area Chamber of Commerce. It's going to be located at Ferndale High School from 8 to 9:30 a.m. It's open to the community and to realtors and anyone who wants to come learn more about the Ferndale schools, from high school students and from administrators. As always, we put out a lot of information into our weekly newsletters and encourage anyone to sign up for them by emailing fpsfanout@ferndaleschools.org and join us on Facebook.
What was the date of that event again?
Extravaganza or the community breakfast?
The community breakfast.
Tuesday, February 7th.
Thank you.
And the date of the election, just to remind folks?
February 28th.
February 28th. We'll have an all-city election. Thank you. Very good. Any questions of council? Thanks so much for coming. Our next presentation this evening is always a fun event. It's the Holiday Lights Beautification Awards, special awards for the great holiday lights that we've seen in our community over the last month or so. And Peggy Snow, I believe, is here to present those awards. With my help, right? All right. Hi, help you? Good. Oh, they're right over here. Okay.
Yep, I'm trying to get projection.
It's on. It's on.
Good evening. This year was really a lot of fun. It's always fun, but this year more so because there were so many lights this year. It was just, and when we were done riding home, I saw lights that we hadn't seen when we were out. Wasn't there a lot of them?
More than usual.
Yes. I think it was because of the really nice warm weather that got a lot of people motivated, and so it was extra fun this year. In fact, I was told not to nominate so many next year. It took so long. So. First, we'll do the commercial one, and it was Orchid and 141 West 9 Mile Road. Someone's here to. This one was all wrapped in lights like you see in Rochester, And it really stood out. So that was a great job. And we divide the city in 4 sections. And so this is in the one section is Cliff Lemon and George Westerman at 2635 Highland.
Oh, we're working on the pictures.
Yes.
We want to show off your beautiful house.
We just wait.
Wait, let's just see if we can show off your house. Was the warm weather helpful to that? Did that motivate you, or? Yeah.
And actually, they're down at the end of a dead-end street, and we still found them.
There we go.
Oh, no, that's not theirs. This is our first time doing it like that. So you'll get to see them all, maybe just not as I'm calling them.
We'll let that roll while we're.
We'll just work with it. That's fine, no problem. We were just happy that Marnie rode around with us and took the pictures. We appreciated her help with that. The next one is Cheryl and Tom Bullock at 1251 West Hazelhurst. I don't know if they were able to attend this tonight. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They're not here apparently, so we'll go on to the next one. Tom and Marie Bilat at 228 East Saratoga. They're not here either, okay. And then normally we just give one award in each section. But this year we were on Inman. There were like 4 houses in a row. And, it really looks great when there's a lot of houses, not just one here and one there, when there's a big selection of them together. So we gave all 4 of them an award this year. So the first one is Randy and Kim Tackett, Tackett, at 2945 Inman. Oh, that's the one. That's the one right there. Yes. Mm-hmm. And the next one is Jason and Antonia Tomlinson at 2955 Inman. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's on Saratoga. I remember that one. And I want to say back to that house a little bit. The gentleman there told us that it had been so windy out there. Some of his decorations were down because of the wind, but it still looked great. The third one on Inman is Dave and Diane Heller, 3003 Inman. Apparently they're not here either. And then the last one is Richard Christman at 3013 Inman. Okay.
Well, let's have a hand for all of our
Hopefully we'll all get some good ideas for our next year's display.
She said we have to finish watching it. There's Cliff and George's house.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, doesn't that look great?
Really. Very nice. Cliff said he wasn't done decorating when they took those pictures, so. Very, very nice. All right. Thanks again to all of our winners and to Peggy and your beautification committee for all the hard work in selecting, which I know was a hard job this year. We really did. I don't know. I think you're right. It was the warm weather, but it was that the lights were out better than ever this year. All right. Our next agenda item would be call to audience. As you know, call to audience is 30 minutes now and more time needed at the end of the agenda. for the audience members to speak on any item that is not on the agenda, because we'll give you an opportunity to speak on that when we get there. But anything else on your mind this evening, you have 3 minutes. It's your time to come on up and address council. Give us your name and your address, or write it on the sheet in the back if you're not comfortable doing that on camera. Thanks. And our first participant, Mr.
My name is Dennis Hepner, 766 Florida.
Good evening, sir.
At the October 24th City Council meeting, I stood up here and pleaded with the citizens of Ferndale to cast their votes on November 8th. But once again, only 14% of the registered voters voted in November. But you know what? I believe that 14% got it right. So I say to you, Mayor Dave Holter, and you, Councilman Mike Lennon, and our newly elected Dan Martin, congratulations.
Thank you, Dennis. Thanks a lot. Who else would like to address council this evening? Yes, our library board member.
Yes, Jim O'Donnell, 1326 West Hazelhurst, just appearing as a citizen today. I just wanted to encourage people to come out and vote, speaking of voting, on February 28th for the school bond. There's a lot of important work that's being done in all of the buildings that our kids in the Ferndale School District use. Everything from removing asbestos to the high school to making sure basic things like sidewalks and pavement is taken care of, revamping some of the technology in all of the schools. Some of it is more than 10 years old. They can't even repair it because they don't make parts anymore. So there's a lot of really important things on that bond issue. It won't increase tax. It won't increase the tax rate at all. It extends the time that we have to pay the debt out a few more years, but no increase in tax rates. And if you want more information about it, just look for somebody walking around town in a vote yes button. They're red, white, and blue. Mine's on my overcoat. Or go to citizensforqualityschools.org or to the Facebook page that we have. It's also Citizens for Quality Schools on Facebook for more information. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Our county commissioner, I'm sorry, I usually let you speak under presentation.
Not
Sorry
at all. I'm glad to
you.
come up at any
Good to see
time.
you.
And I want to add my name or my voice to the chorus of people congratulating the new city council. Mayor Coulter, congratulations on another term. Councilman Martin, you look good up there.
Thanks.
Maybe not as pretty as Councilwoman Baker.
Definitely not.
But prettier than Councilman Lennon, so.
Thank you.
Seriously, really good to see all of you, and it's going to be a great couple of years, and so nice to see the city manager and the clerk and everyone. Just quickly, Oakland County Commission has been on break over the holidays, and while most people were out trying to celebrate the holidays and buy gifts, we were desperately trying to halt the efforts to change the county commission. We failed so far, and as you probably know from the news media, Governor Snyder did sign the law that was rushed through during the holiday break to change Oakland County's system of government to force redistricting yet again by the commissioners that are sitting up there now, and to reduce the county commission from 25 to 21 districts. Just so you know, the Democrats, including myself and all of the other ones, have filed suit and gone to court in Lansing to try to stop this particular law from taking effect. The truth is we don't know what's going to happen, and the timing is such that we literally, here in Ferndale, we don't know what district the city of Ferndale will be in. I won't know what district should I decide to run for re-election. You know, I've only been a commissioner for 1 year, and already there's this chaos up there. But I expect to announce pretty soon, and currently we are in the 25th district. There is a map that has been tested. It's been developed, and it was tested in the courts and decided to be legal. So I will come and bring you news as soon as we have. But whether Ferndale is in the 25th district or some other district that the Republicans might come up with, we will still represent the fine city of Ferndale. And finally, if I may, because it's winter out and it's January, that means the 11th annual Bud Light Ferndale Blues and Music Festival is nearing. I think it's about 18 days away. It is January 27th through February 4th. It's 9 days again this year, and we are going to have a lot of concerts, a lot of music. We have a whole lot of new venues we'll be announcing very soon. Monica Mills, my co-chair, is here tonight. All of the funds raised go to Ferndale Youth Assistance and Michigan AIDS Coalition. You'll start to see the iconic blue pigs, the blue blind piggy banks out there very soon. We do need volunteers. There's no way that 2 or 3 or 4 of us can do this. So we will be holding a volunteer orientation meeting this Wednesday, the 11th of January, at the Michigan AIDS Coalition there on Fielding at Livernois. Anybody who'd like to help, we use a lot of volunteers, anywhere from 50 to 75 volunteers, to work the concerts, work the blues tents, or the barbecue tent. We will have the barbecue event going on. We have some new sponsors that are going to be announced real soon that you're going to be very pleased to hear about. So I just wanted to share that, put that on your calendars. It's a good time because by the time we get to the end of January, people are usually ready to get out and deal with some cabin fever and come out and bond with their friends and listen to some music. So library is going to be involved. A lot of our businesses will be involved, the Elks. So I appreciate it.
And you're expanding the music this year.
We are
Blues
expanding.
And rock and roll, right?
We're going to go way beyond just the blues since there's other kinds of music evidently out there. We got some rock and roll. We got some modern stuff. We're going to have some jazz bands. We've got at least one youth concert. And we're working on possible concerts in Hazel Park, Royal Oak Township, and Pleasant Ridge. So, again, congratulations, everybody up there. You
Thanks,
look good.
Commissioner. Appreciate
Mike,
it.
you look good, too.
Your 3 minutes are up there, Commissioner.
Thanks.
Sherry, good evening.
Good evening. Sherry Wells, 315 West Troy. In this economy, with money in short supply, anyone who wants to bank their time and skills in exchange for that of dozens or hundreds of others will want to check out time banking. www.ferndaletimebank.org. No money changes hands. Michelle Foster and I have a joint New Year's resolution. It is to make Time Bank a household word in our community in 2012. Join us on Wednesday, 6 p.m. at AJ's Cafe, 240 West 9 Mile Road, for a 1-hour meeting to plan just how we will all do that. And at that meeting, you can also add your name to Ferndale's growing list of time bankers. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Anyone else would like to address council this evening? Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I'm John Martin from Bay City, Michigan. I would just like to congratulate the newly elected council members, especially my son, Dan. I'm sure you all do a great job. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. All right, that concludes call to audience this evening. Thanks, everybody. Our next item would be the consent agenda. The consent agenda are items that the council considers routine and we enact in one motion. Unless any of them are removed to the regular agenda, I will read the consent agenda now. Item A would be the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held December 12th and December 19th, 2011. Item B, approval of the CDBG lawn services and snow removal contract with OLSA. Item C, approval of the quitclaim deed for 1230 West 8 Mile Road. Item D, approval of the specialized services contract for fiscal year 2012 and authorization for the mayor or designate to sign the contract. E, approval of the city's 2012 community membership in the Traffic Improvement Association and to charge the expense of $5,900 to the Major Streets Fund, memberships and dues, accounts number 202-000958. Approval of item F, approval of the 4 invoices totaling $13,525 from Rhodes Welding Company of Ferndale for repairing leaf vacuums and to charge the expense to the motor pool repair and maintenance account. Item G, approval to adopt the performance resolution for governmental agencies for the annual construction permit allowing the city to operate within the state highway right-of-way on Woodward Avenue and 8 Mile Road in 2012. Item H, approval to issue the 2012 annual licenses for the operation of a theater and/or moving picture show contingent upon satisfactory completion of all necessary city inspections, and those would be for 3 businesses within Ferndale: Paul Jacobs of Go Comedy, 261 East 9 Mile Road; Jamie Worrow of Ringwald Theater, 22742 Woodward Avenue; and Jeremy Haberman of Magic Bag, 22920 Woodward Avenue. Item I, approval of the reappointments to city boards and commissions. And let me read these for you. Reappointed to the Arts and Culture Commission, Heather Mitchell, Michelle Delacourt, Joe Barrett, and Duff Mahan for a term ending December 21, 2012. Number 2, with the Arts and Culture Commission, Carrie Roeder, Anita Porter, Robert Thomas, Aaron Timlin, Alicia Vanderhaar, and Ann Yamber for terms ending December 31st, 2013. Number 3, the Board of Review, William Brown for a term ending December 31st, 2013, and Dean Hayden as an alternate member for a term ending December 31st, 2013. Number 4, the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, Guy Scavone II and Doug Weiner for terms ending December 12th, 2014. Number 5, the Downtown Development Authority Board of Directors, John McQuiggan for a term ending December 31st, 2015. Number 6, the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, Jeannie Davis for a term ending December 31st, 2014. And 7, the Planning Commission, Kevin Vetrano for a term ending December 31st, 2014. And finally, number 8, the Sidewalk Hardship Committee, Greg Pollica, Joe Mahan, Ann Heller, and Joel Petrie for terms ending December 31st, 2013. And let me just say, one of the reasons Ferndale works is because of all of the people who step up and volunteer on all of these things, and I want to thank all of them for their willingness to continue to serve our city. And finally, consent agenda, item K, approval of the bills and payrolls as certified by the city manager, paid subject to the review of the Council Finance Committee. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
I'd like to remove one item.
Yes.
9E, the Traffic Improvement Association membership.
All right. Item E, any other removals?
I'd like to remove 9B, approval of the CDBG lawn services and snow removal contract.
So noted. Other items to be removed from the consent agenda? Otherwise, a motion would be in order.
I move to accept the consent agenda with items 9B and 9E removed.
Support.
Moved by Piana, supported by Martin. Any other discussion on the consent agenda? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Council members Lennon,
Yes.
Piana,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Galloway,
Yes.
and Mayor Coulter.
Yes, thank you. The consent agenda is adopted. That moves us to our regular agenda this evening, and our first order of business is the appointment of council members to boards and commissions, and there are 15 various commissions and boards that council members serve on, and we're going to have to take these one at a time. We don't need to vote on them one at a time, do we? Can we sort of talk through them one at a time and vote on them in one motion would be great? All right, so why don't we take the first item, which would be the role of Mayor Pro Tem for the Ferndale City Council.
I think Melanie Piana would be great for that job, having not served in that role yet, but having a few years of experience under her belt.
I agree.
Any other nominations for that? All right. Number 2, the Board of Zoning Appeals.
I've been on that before, and I understand with her new duties as Mayor Pro Tem, she won't have time to do the Board of Zoning Appeals. I'd be willing to serve on that.
I've served for 5 years on that board.
Great. Any other nominations for that board? All right, the third board this evening is the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. Councilman Galloway, you currently serve on that?
And I'm willing to continue.
Any other nominations for that board?
I think that he'll do a fine job.
The fourth committee is a new one this year, the Capital Improvement Plan Committee. And City Manager, why don't you give us just a very brief description of why you suggested that we create this new committee?
Sure. Community and Economic Development Director Derek Delacourt has provided a new process for how we handle our capital improvements plan. We are looking at having a more comprehensive 5-year capital improvement plan, and that will take a committee to do. It will include department heads, it will include planning commission members, and it will include council members, as well as an opportunity during the process for community input. So it would be very valuable to have 1 to 2 city council members who sit on that board. You guys can choose if you'd like 1 or 2, but we're very excited about this new process and look forward to getting a team approach to our capital needs.
Very good, thank you.
And Mayor, just as a follow-up,
Yes.
that is also an additional requirement of the new Planning Act. So that is another reason why that capital improvement plan needs a volunteer from
Great,
council.
thank you. Are there members interested in serving on this new committee?
I'd like to serve on it.
Dan Martin.
I understand that Councilman.
I'm also interested, but I'm also interested in serving on the Planning Commission, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit, how do you think the Planning Commission City Council representative would interact with the CIP committee?
Well, Planning Commission will be actively involved in the process. I don't know if, Derek, correct me if I'm wrong, but so you would have, as a Planning Commission member, you would have input in the process as well as you would the City Council member. Is that a fair assessment? Okay. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I mean, you're going to be involved as you're going to be approving it.
Is there a conflict, or is it?
Oh, it's not a conflict, but really it would be a committee that would report to the Plan Commission.
Okay.
And then the Plan Commission would make a recommendation ultimately to council, so.
Okay,
Sorry, I didn't have
so
that right.
someone who would serve on the Plan Commission and the CIP committee.
Not inconsistent.
Not inconsistent, but could be overlap. In terms
Yeah,
of.
well, you'll hear
Yes.
about those issues
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the recommendation prior to
Okay.
coming to the Plan Commission.
Okay.
Eric,
No, I was just going to point out that the Planning Commission's already selected its 2 members, and in past experiences, I don't feel there would be any problem if you were to serve on both the Planning Commission and the CIP policy team as a city council member. I've had that experience in the past, and it's never, no issues have ever developed from it, so.
Thanks, Derek. So
I was just wondering how that would, that would work together, so, but I know that there's other council members who are also interested in serving on the CIP, so I'm willing to defer to the 2 other council people.
Are there other council people that would?
I think Councilman Lennon said he was interested.
Yeah, I have no preference, so it doesn't matter. Only if you really want it. I'll drop the ball in your court.
Well, I'll take your offer.
All right, very
If you
good.
feel it's not overburdening you, then fine. If you feel you're too taxed, then
Well,
I'll
let's
help you
see
out.
how it goes, and if we
Yeah.
need to redirect, then we'll do
okay.
that later.
Yeah,
so.
we can do that later. Okay.
We're going to start taxing you next.
Yeah.
Construction Board of Appeals, Councilman Lennon, you currently serve on that?
I'd like to remain on
Like
that.
to remain on that? Very good. Any other nominations for that? Employee Retirement System Board of Trustees. That was a role that former Councilwoman Baker served on.
I'd be happy to take that.
Councilman Martin will take her spot on that. And any other nominations for that? Thank you. The Ferndale Public School Superintendent Advisory Committee. Councilman Galloway, you currently serve in that role.
And I'm willing to continue on.
All right. Any other nominations for that? All right. Number 8, the Finance Committee, which is currently Councilman Galloway and Councilman Lennon.
I wouldn't mind retaining that position.
If we're willing to bear that heavy burden.
Yes.
All right. Any other nominations for that? The Highway Committee, which is currently myself and Councilman Lennon. I'm willing to do that again.
Sure, why not?
And so is Councilman Lennon. Any other nominations for that committee? Next would be the Liquor License Review Committee, which is currently Councilman Galloway.
I've been on there quite a bit. I'm happy to continue unless someone else is interested.
Any other interest for that?
Does that, yeah, okay, I'll talk to you.
Then the next committee would be the Ordinance Committee, and that is currently Councilman Galloway, Councilman Lennon, and our city attorney are on that. We're not letting you off the hook on that one, Dan, but Scott and Mike?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
I'm happy to continue on there, sure.
All right. Any other interest in that committee? The next would be the Plan Commission then, and that was Councilwoman Baker last year.
And I'm interested in serving in that
Councilwoman
role.
Piana is interested in serving on that. Is there any other interest, any other nominations for the Plan Commission? All right. 13 would be the Police and Fire Retirement System Board of Trustees. That is currently myself and Councilman Galloway. I am interested in continuing in that role.
I'm happy to hand that off to someone else if they're interested, but if no one...
I'd be happy to serve.
Are you in that, Dan? I think you'd be good at that.
Would make a good fit with your background, Councilman Martin. Thank you. The Sidewalk Hardship Committee is usually a role normally reserved for the mayor, and I'm happy to continue in that role. Unless anyone wants to fight me for that. And finally, the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, SEMCOG, and alternate. And that is currently Councilwoman Piana and Bob Bruner. We still have as the alternate. That's probably a mistake.
The city manager.
So the city manager we would normally have as the alternate.
And I would like to continue serving in that role.
Is there any other nominations for that? And city manager, you're willing to be her alternate? All right. That would conclude the boards and commissions. I don't think I need to read those again. Any other questions, comments, or concerns about the boards and commissions for council members? Then a motion would be in order.
I would move that we appoint the council members to the boards and commissions as described by the mayor.
Support. Fair enough. Moved by Galloway, supported by Lennon. Is there any other discussion or comments on this? I would just point out for the sake of the public that in addition to these meetings, just in case you're wondering, every council member here is on a number of boards, not only these, but a number of other community boards and volunteer activities. It's a very busy job. I'm not complaining. We're happy to do it, but you keep us all very busy. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Martin?
Yes.
Piana?
Yes.
Galloway?
Yes.
Lennon?
Yes.
Mayor Coulter?
Yes, thank you. Those items are adopted. Our next regular agenda item would be consideration to amend Chapter 5 of the Animals and Fowl, Article 1 in general, to add Section 5 through 8, keeping of chickens, to the Code of Ordinances. Before we introduce this item, I'd like to ask if there's anyone here from the public that would like to address us on what we will call the chicken ordinance. At this time, this would be an appropriate time for anyone from the public who would like to address us on this item. I don't hear oh, there we go. Good evening.
Hello, Council. Trevor Johnson, 1687 West Hazelhurst. I've been working with my friend Laura Mikulski with the information that you received at the beginning, helping to get this through, and I would just urge that you would vote yes on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? All right, I'll close the public comment portion of this and open it up to questions from council. Maybe we should introduce this item. And City Manager, do you want to give us an overview of where we're at?
Sure. I'm actually going to bring up Community and Economic Development Director Derek Delacourt to give a brief overview of this ordinance.
Well, good evening. One way or the other, I'm glad to be here finally to discuss this. This is a topic that's been ongoing for quite some time. It started with a request from council for our department to take a look at it, potentially work with the city attorney and the planning commission to draft an ordinance, to consider lessening the restrictions regarding the keeping and raising of fowl in the city. The previous or the current ordinance requires 150 feet from any residential district for any coop or any structure that would house chickens in it. I think, as everybody knows, that makes it a near impossibility in the city of Ferndale to partake in that type of activity. So we did a lot of research and spent a lot of time with the Planning Commission looking into what is acceptable and what has been done in other communities. And the Planning Commission ultimately held a public hearing on a draft ordinance that they recommended approval on. That is the ordinance that's in front of you. The basic structure of the ordinance is a criteria-based regulation. It is not an amendment to the zoning ordinance. In discussions with the city attorney and the Planning Commission, we felt it was important to keep this a regulatory ordinance, to prevent grandfathering, to eliminate appeals to the Zoning Board of Appeals. The Planning Commission and staff felt strongly that if people were going to do this, that the criteria should be met, and that there shouldn't be a lot of additional debate or consideration in regards to it. It's a rather straightforward ordinance. It allows the keeping of 3 hens, no roosters, no other types of chickens, just egg-laying hens. It prohibits the slaughter of any chickens on the property. A permit is required for each applicant. It's a yearly permit that has to be renewed at the end of each year. Each permit or each applicant who receives a permit is required to get an inspection within 30 days of the permit issuance. If they don't, the permit is automatically revoked. If there is any issues identified during that inspection, they have 15 days to correct them, or again, the permit is revoked. The basic criteria of the ordinance is that they have to construct any structures in accordance with the city's property maintenance code to protect against vermin and any other type of infestation. They are required to keep all feed containers closed and secured. There's, in the ordinance list, 7 or 8 more, but the basic ones are to keep everything done in accordance with our existing ordinance regarding structures, prevention of vermin, and in accordance with and this was something the Planning Commission was very keen on, and that is with the generally accepted agriculture and management practices as issued by the Michigan Department of Agriculture. So those guidelines are part of the criteria, and anybody who is issued a permit is expected to stay in good standing with those. We will do inspections on them. Obviously, we will have an idea who has the permits. And we feel this is a good way to, if the city is interested and council wants to move forward, to introduce this into the city. We feel it's safe. Permits can be revoked at the end of a year if people aren't doing it in accordance with the criteria. And at the end of 1 year, we can revisit it. And if it's not working, we can either make adjustments or make wholesale changes. So we feel this is a safe and easy way to get started with something like this. So with that, we're here to answer any questions if you have them.
I also just, through the chair, I also just wanted to mention, just kind of looking back at where we started from. I was approached by multiple residents who requested that the city look at this, and I brought it forth to council during to call the audience for the city to look into this. So I'm thankful that you are finally here at this point.
Questions for Derek? We don't have a motion yet, but questions for clarification would be in order.
I have a question for clarification. In the Planning Commission meeting notes, it says specifically in one line, it was the consensus of the commission was that staff garner input from other communities and that permit chickens. It was generally agreed that permitting and neighborhood approvals are unnecessary. So I was wondering how, if the Planning Commission recommended that permits were unnecessary, why there is a permit process included in the package that came to council.
I think that, and Ms. Baker's here as well, if there's any consideration. It wasn't that permits were unnecessary, but that permits contingent on neighborhood approval were unnecessary. They were felt very strongly that permits be a requirement, that a yearly permit and inspection be issued for each one. The original draft of the ordinance did not have that in there, and that was actually something added back in by the Planning Commission as part of the process. So I don't think I'm speaking or misspeaking. I think they were adamant that a permit and an inspection be included in the ordinance.
And is permitting and inspection a normal characteristic of city ordinances for allowing chickens? So did the other cities that you consider have those types of processes in place?
Yes.
The enforcement of this, the inspection of this, and I guess the enforcement of this would primarily fall in your area, Derek, with the code enforcement folks?
Correct.
And are you comfortable that you have the staffing that is, sufficient to, given all the other stuff that you have going on, to monitor this?
Yeah, we are. The way it's structured, from the input we got from other communities about volume of permits issued, at first we were a little hesitant. But the more information we got and the more we looked into it, at this point we are very comfortable with that.
And my second question would be, I think, to the city attorney. Dan, would it be appropriate or even allowable to pass an ordinance like this or amend an ordinance like this with a sunset? Could we, if we wanted, and I don't know what my colleagues feel, but could we make it a 1-year sort of pilot ordinance? And to me, the benefit of doing that would be to put people on notice that no matter what part of the year you came in, We want you to know that we're going to review this at the end of the year, so if you make an investment in a chicken coop or something, just understand that there'll be a formal review of this ordinance after a year. Would something like that?
As a regulatory ordinance, Your Honor, that would be permissive. Whether it's recommended is another question. There potentially is going to be a significant, or at least an investment with respect to meeting the specific criteria of the ordinance. So it raises the specter of potentially scaring people from making that type of commitment if they know that absent any type of consideration by council, it has an automatic sunset provision, rather than, like all ordinances, should council determine that it needs to be revisited, the regulatory ordinance could be reconsidered by this body.
What would happen? Because you could take out I guess it's a one-year permit, correct?
Correct.
Derek? So you could take out the permit 7 months from now, and if a year from now council decided it wasn't working, they would still get a year? I mean, it wouldn't revoke their permit, would it?
No,
would it?
just go through that year.
Yes, we're everybody, no matter when you're issued
they don't
a permit.
get a year from the time they get the permit. They
It's
get
based on a calendar
December
year.
31st.
Yes.
Calendar year.
Yes.
I see.
And that was intentional in one of the considerations of the Planning Commission, exactly for the reasons you mentioned. No matter when the permit is issued, they will all expire on December 31st of that year and will all be necessary to reissue.
Other questions?
Are 3 chickens a standard amount, or do most cities offer more? I mean, what is the typical allowable backyard chickens for an urban community?
I'd say depending on the size of the community, 3 is right there. They tended to be anywhere between 3 and 6. With the size of the yards in Ferndale compared to other communities with like ordinances, we felt 3 was a reasonable number.
And 3 is what is allowed for cats and dogs as well, so there is some consistency there.
I have a question, and if there's the issue that we discussed, and if, for example, the chickens get loose, this falls under our existing animal control process with the county, correct?
Correct.
Chase the chicken down.
The county will chase chickens?
I don't know if they will chase them, but that's the only place we have under any animal control right now. So I'm not sure how high on the list a loose chicken will be for the county, but.
Well, I mean, I asked that because I believe our contract with them specifically covers certain things, and it doesn't cover cats, for instance, so I'm guessing it doesn't cover chickens.
They're enforcing the Dog Act of 1998.
They're enforcing dogs. Yeah, I don't
It
think the
really
county's
would not
going to.
address.
Then we'll have to go back and talk about that. But yeah, right now then, the only animal control we have though is through Oakland County, whether or not they cover
That's
chickens
right.
or not.
And I'm guessing they don't.
Yeah.
Of course, we vacated an alley right behind the KFC to keep them in town.
However, though, to clarify, any ordinance violation will be handled through.
Yes.
Like if somebody were to complain about a dirty coop or something like that, would go through ordinance.
And so if someone calls complaining about a chicken, and they're probably going to call the police department, I'm guessing. They might call City Hall, but I'm guessing they're going to call the police department. The chief is going to just send that over to the...
We will work hand in hand. We're out there to make sure that any chicken issues will be handled appropriately.
Billy.
Well, I know it's a humorous subject to some degree, but I mean, Chief, I really am concerned about. I mean, you guys are well, got a lot of work to do, and I'm.
We have a very good working relationship with Mr. Delacorte. We will, if there's an issue, we will find it out.
All right. Well, a motion would probably be in order before we have much more discussion than this, I suppose.
I'll move to adopt ordinance number 1118, amending Chapter 5, Article 1, Animals and Fowl of the Ferndale Code of Ordinances to lessen the restrictions regarding the raising and keeping of chickens and to require a permit and inspection yearly.
Support.
Moved by Martin and supported by Piana. All right. Now, additional questions, but also comments, concerns?
Generally, I've always been supportive of backyards chickens. All the work that I've done with local communities around the region, I know that a lot of people want to have more control of their own food production and access to healthy and fresh food, and so they know they can do that with backyard chickens. And I think, from what I've heard through these past months that we've been discussing chickens, that this permitting process and the code enforcement that we have in place addresses animals or the chickens and the outcomes or the consequences of having chickens, which are very similar to owning a domesticated pet, cat or dog, mostly dog. So I feel very comfortable in support of this ordinance.
I would support it too, and I would say because of the nature of the ordinance and it not being a zoning issue, as you mentioned, or anything else, that if we find a year from now that this is not working the way that we think it should, or it's creating more trouble for the city than necessary, we could revisit it within a year just by the nature of the ordinance. So I would support this.
Well, I guess that's the point I want to pick up on, because I have come to support this. I had initially a number of reservations, but I said at the time I would keep an open mind and do my homework, and I have, and I've talked to some of the other cities that are doing it, and I've discovered, Derek, just what you've said, which is it has been a non-issue in those cities, which surprised me a little bit, but it seems to have been a non-issue and works very well. And so I guess I'm definitely willing to give it a try. I'm really interested in this idea of revisiting it a year from now, and it sounds like we're going to do that one way or the other. I'm just curious what council thinks in terms of the advantages of sort of declaring that this is a one-year trial. I guess there's still, to me, some benefit of saying and making it clear on the application that this is a one-year trial, and understand that any investment, that you make will be for a one-year trial purpose. We can do it either way. We could just sort of remember to revisit this next year, but to me there seems to be the advantage of putting that in the ordinance itself tonight would be to put people on notice and be very clear and upfront about the fact that this is, in our minds, a test, that we're going to ask the chief and Derek and others to come back in a year from now and tell us how it's going and evaluate whether or not this was a success or not. So I'm curious to council's take on that. I'm open either way, but I would be supportive of some language like that.
Through the chair? My point of view is that by giving a one-year notice, we're kind of indicating that we don't believe our processes that are outlined here in the ordinance are going to suffice. However, I do agree that we do need to see the results over 1 year of practice. And if there are glaring issues that cannot be addressed with the current processes that are already indicated in the ordinance, then I would suggest it would come back to council. But to say that it might not work, and so we're going to put you on notice, I really think sends out the wrong message for to the applicants who are interested in creating a backyard chicken environment. So that's my point of view.
I would, Mr. Mayor, also indicate too, it's somewhat duplicative in that by nature of this ordinance, we can revisit it at any time.
Yeah.
To say a year from now, or maybe it's 2 years from now or whatever, I think the intent is accurate. Why restrict ourselves?
And for me, I hear you. I agree that we could just simply revisit it. It was really to be crystal clear to the people who put out an application. I wouldn't mind a line in there that says, just so you understand, we're being very upfront about this. Because I do still have some reservations. Again, my mind is still open. I'm willing to pursue this. I do still have reservations. I'm personally hoping that my neighbors don't take us up on this opportunity, but I'm going to check them out when they're here. I can't wait to see what they're really like.
What I can offer from a departmental standpoint to address that concern, and in listening to the discussion, what we can do is on any permit issuance, we can make sure that there is a statement on there that lets residents know that this is a regulatory ordinance, that there is no guarantee that this ordinance will be in place for any period of time, and that should trigger them, that if they have any hesitation, they can come and discuss it with us, and we can certainly explain the situation to them. We'd be glad to do that.
Other comments or questions on this ordinance? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmembers Piana?
Yes.
Galloway?
Yes.
Lennon?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Coulter?
Yes, thank you. That item is adopted.
Shake and bake chickens.
Shake and bake. All right. Item C is the tentative agreement that council met in closed session at 7 p.m. this evening to discuss, and that is a tentative agreement with the International Association of Firefighters. Madam City Clerk, would you please introduce that item?
I would be happy to. The administration and the fire union have been working diligently over the last few months to ratify the IFAF contract that had been open since June of 2008. Both administration and IFF have realized a cost savings of well over $200,000, and that's definitely at bare minimum that would happen with this contract. And this does not include any of the future liabilities such as future retiree health care and things of that nature. That's for current employee savings of over $200,000. Some highlights included in the tentative agreement, which is about 4 pages long, which is why we're not reading it into the record, includes a wage freeze, health care alignment with other unions and city personnel, changes to new employee retiree health care and pension, and a decrease in vacation allowability, which also made it possible for us to increase our minimum staffing levels by 1. Both the union and administration worked very hard to balance cost savings with safety, and I feel that we achieved this goal in this contract, and I am very excited to report that the IFF union ratified this contract January 2nd, and I appreciate the effort and the time of both Chief Kevin Sullivan, as well as the IFF to continue to meet with us to try to formulate some agreement so that we could move forward with this union in this contract. And I want to thank council and everybody else for their patience as well as we worked through this process. So those are just a few of the highlights of key points. We're very excited. So, any questions or anything you want me to comment on further?
Well, I just wanted to clarify. So this contract saves the city, what, hundreds of thousands of dollars?
At minimum 200, and that's a low figure.
And it increases the
On an
minimum
annual basis.
staffing levels, that it actually increases the number of firefighters that will be on duty at any given time?
Yeah, because the union agreed to lower the amount of people who could be on vacation one day, we were able to increase our minimum staffing from 6 to 7.
And we maintained our current command structure with 2 captains, 2 lieutenants, 2 sergeants, and we're putting back in the engineer positions.
We're filling, we had 1 captain, and Chief, you're going to have to make sure I don't mess this up, but we had 1 captain, and we're filling the other position that had been open, and then we're looking at how we're going to be handling the engineer positions. But yes, we maintained the command structure.
Okay, great.
Any further clarifications or?
A motion would be in order.
I move to authorize the attached changes to the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Ferndale and International Association of Firefighters for the period July 1st, 2008 through June 30th, 2013.
Support.
Moved by Piana, supported by Galloway. Any other questions or discussion on this item?
I would just like to thank April for all her hard work and the union board. They did a great job.
You're here. Yeah, I would echo that as well. And so one other feature of this contract, if I'm correct, April, is that for new hires, there will be no retiree health care for new hires, and that will put them in line with all the rest of the employees now. And so that will be a long-term.
There'll be a health care savings account.
We're not shutting them out completely.
That's correct, but we will not have the liability of the
Yes.
health care, which is significant savings to the city long-term.
It is.
I would echo the sentiment of thank you for your negotiations, and to thank the firefighters as well. This has been a long process. They've been without a contract since 2008, and it was a priority when April came on board. Council said, let's get this contract wrapped up, and congratulations on the hard work in doing so.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmembers Galloway?
Yes.
Lennon?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Piana?
Yes.
Mayor Coulter?
Yes, thank you. That contract is approved. All right, we have 2 consent agenda items, which now I don't have in front of me. Yes, item B is approval of the CDBG lawn services with ULSA, and Councilman Martin, you removed this item.
Yeah, I did. I have no objection to the approval of the contract, but I think this is a really important program that perhaps residents of the city who should be aware of it may not be. And what this program does is provide lawn and service and shovel the snow for seniors of low to moderate income families in the city of Ferndale. And I think it's important to emphasize that by awarding this contract through OSHA, the intake and the application for residents who may qualify should apply through OSHA as well. So I want to make sure we use the money and that folks know it's available through this grant as well. So.
Very good. Very good. So do you want to move that item?
I would be happy to. I would move that we approve the contract with OSHA for program year 2011 to 2012 and to authorize the mayor to sign the contract and to direct the city clerk to forward one copy of the signed contract to OSHA with a copy to the CED.
Is there support?
Support.
Moved by Martin, supported by Galloway. Derek, do you have
I just wanted to point out to Councilman Martin's point, I did check with OSHA today. If anybody's interested in the program, the contact phone number is 248-209-2671, or you can contact OSHA online at www.olhsa.org. And they have all the information anybody needs.
If you've been in town in a long time, it's the old CSO office that is kitty corner across the street from City Hall. It now says OLSA across the face. You can always stop in there in person and get an application. Thanks. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Lennon?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Galloway?
Yes.
Mayor Coulter?
Yes, thank you. That item passes. And our final regular agenda item is formerly the consent agenda item E, which is the approval of the city's 2012 community membership in the Traffic Improvement Association. And Councilwoman Piana, you had that item pulled.
Yes, I was looking for support, just wanted to hear support from the city manager and the community economic development director about the TIA as well as the police chief. As you know, since I took my seat on council, I've been critical of this organization based off of what we were paying out in 2009 and the services we received. But I'm also interested in hearing about your opinion of their philosophy towards complete streets for Ferndale and how their mission as the Traffic Improvement Association fits into that, and if that's going to be a good fit for us going forward.
I was told that this item was of concern, and so when I was talking to both, actually all three, Byron, Derek, and Chief Collins about the use of this organization, I received a lot of positive feedback that they have really utilized this organization to help them in areas that we don't have any longer at the city. I know that when we had a retirement in the police department with the way that we had, I believe, a traffic control officer or whatnot, or traffic engineer within the police department, that they really filled a void that we had there. And as well as I know that Byron uses them as well on a regular basis to help with some engineering needs of that nature as well. So both department heads came up to me and indicated, without actually me even asking, how much that they have valued what they bring to the table for some of the things that we need. And I'm sure that both of them would be more than willing to talk in more specifics. I don't know if that answered your question in totality, but at least for those two departments, they do utilize that organization. Some years, it could be 4 or 5 times. It could be 1 year. You might only need them once, but when we do have them, I think this year, Chief Collins, if I'm not mistaken, we've used them quite a few times on quite a few issues, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if you want to.
Yes, not only with the realigning of the 9 Mile project and the Troy and Allen project, we utilize them extensively. We've had them looking at the schools and some traffic improvement plans for the drop-off and pick-up of students. We're having them look at many of the traffic control devices and signs within the community, find out if they're warranted, and to see if they should be removed. So we are utilizing them a lot this past year. I would say 5 is a lot for the others. We've had them for traffic counts at least a dozen times so far, in last year as well.
I don't know if there's more that you would like me to add, but.
No,
Does that address your concerns, Councilwoman?
I've genuinely, yes, that addresses my concerns, but I'm of the opinion that perhaps they don't fit the philosophy where we need to go as a city. So it's where my objective lies.
Is there a motion? Is there a motion to adopt former item E of the consent agenda?
I would move that we approve the city's 2012 community membership in the Traffic Improvement Association, charge the expense of $5,900 to Major Streets Fund.
Support.
Moved by Galloway, supported by Lennon. Any further discussion on this item?
Well, I just wanted to say, I share Councilwoman Piana's concerns, but I wonder if that's a concern that we have to eliminate them, or whether that means we have to give more input
And work with them?
before we make a decision. So use their information, but not use it as the, gather additional information to make our community more pedestrian and bicycle friendly, because
I do want to acknowledge that they have improved from 2009. So, with their attention and the services to us. So, I mean,
I think we have to continue to be demanding customers of them, because quite frankly, the first 6 or 7 years of my time on council, they weren't impressive. But this last presentation on the redevelopment of West 9 Mile, I thought was pretty good.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Councilmembers Piana,
no.
Martin,
Yes.
Galloway,
Yes.
Lennon,
Yes.
Mayor Coulter.
Yes, thank you. That item is adopted. That concludes our regular agenda for this evening. That would bring us to call to council. And it's my pleasure to introduce the newest member of our staff. We hired an HR generalist last week by the name of Jennifer Longthorne. And Jennifer, why don't you just kind of come up and let the community say hi and introduce yourself to our community. Jennifer's been on board all of a week, so I'm probably embarrassing the heck, 3 days? So I'm probably embarrassing the heck out of her, but
Good evening, and I appreciate the opportunity to be placed in this position to serve your city. My name is Jenny Longthorne. I currently live in Westland, Michigan, so I have a little bit of a hike in the morning, but I found an alternate route to 696, so that's working out great. In my former experience to here, I worked for a nonprofit for about 1.5 years. I also served with the city of Novi as well as the city of Farmington Hills in an HR capacity. So I very much am looking forward to this opportunity and meeting the staff and working with the different departments and providing any help that our staff need and, by way of HR. So look forward to working with council as well on any HR related issues.
Jenny, we're thrilled to have you on board. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Chief Collins, anything from the police department this evening?
Very briefly, Your Honor, a lot of times you'll see these come up with the awards, but I did want to make mention of an incident that occurred over the holidays in which, of course, nobody likes to have their banks robbed, but one of ours got robbed over the holiday period. That same individual robbed 3 other banks, 2 in Birmingham, 1 in Clinton Township. And by just outstanding police work, one of our midnight shift sergeants spotted a vehicle that may or may not have been involved in that crime. It matched the description. He did some just old-fashioned police work, came up with the fact that the man was on parole for a previous bank robbery. In law enforcement, we refer to that as a clue. We followed through with that. He followed through with that. That man was stopped. He had a large amount of money in his vehicle. They turned over to the Detective Bureau. Not that we're saying anything bad about the FBI, but they apparently were on vacation during this period of time. So our Detective Bureau not only executed a search warrant on this individual's room, and this is a tip for anyone that wants to go into bank robbery as a vocation, is that when you use the note, throw it away. This gentleman decided to keep the note in his room, so that was just one more nail in his coffin. So anyway, it was just an outstanding job by our people, and I just thought that it should be, the public should know the diligence and what they did. And on a sad note, one of our longtime retired police officers passed away over this past weekend. We'll put together the information for a resolution for council, but we did want to pass on to the folks at Bob Beveridge, longtime resident, was a resident when he passed away. Had unexpectedly passed away. He retired in 1986. He took over the parking enforcement duties after my father retired back in '71, so he was here for a long, long time. So we'll all miss him, and we'll get that information to you for a formal resolution.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
And you didn't mention his name, but Patrol Sergeant Dan Simon was...
Dan Simon was the sergeant that started that whole ball.
Give him credit in
rolling.
case he's listening.
Yep.
Congratulations, Dan Simon, for some great police work. Thanks a lot, Chief. Chief Sullivan.
If he goes down, it's going to take a whole lot of people to get him up.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I'd like to congratulate the 43rd City Council and welcome aboard to Councilman Martin. We had a hazmat earlier today where a business owner in the city of Ferndale had leak of a very serious chemical, reached explosive levels. Business next door smelled it. It got threatening at some point. We had to evacuate, shut down their business until we got the leak cleaned up. I'd just like to warn all business owners as well as residents alike that they should check any containers in their homes or businesses and make sure that the containers are well in good shape, and if you're not using the chemical, call and have it disposed of properly. There were 2 different chemicals that we know of in this 55-gallon drum storage area. Had they mixed together, we probably would have had an explosive situation on our hands, which is right off the railroad, so it could have got real messy real quick. So I just like to say that we also had to have a $10,000 down payment to get any of the 3 major companies we got a hold of to do the cleanup. Without that, nobody would start and engage. So finally his credit cleared and we didn't have to bite the bullet to get the problem resolved. But that's another thing that it's very costly to clean up later than it is to take care of it and while it's at hand. I'd like to make an announcement. Our CERT team, we've been put on the county as a team even though we haven't formated yet. So we're going to have our first formation meeting this Saturday at 10 a.m. at fire headquarters, and looking for anybody in the cities of Ferndale, Pleasant Ridge, and Royal Oak Township that would like to be part of the CERT team, which is the Civilian Emergency Response Team, kind of like fire auxiliaries in a sense for storms and bad weather. We can use citizens for when we're overwhelmed to handle lesser parts of the emergencies and sit on things for us to make sure no one is harmed. So we'll be meeting at 10 a.m. at fire headquarters. At the same time, the county is also starting a county-wide coalition, which they've asked me to come to a meeting this week. So luckily, I'm getting on the ball finally, but a little backed up with other projects, but we're now rolling slowly but surely toward the end goal of getting the team formed. Anybody willing to come? Ferndale Fire Headquarters, 10 a.m. on Saturday.
City Manager, if it's not already, can we make sure that's up on the website and the television screen? Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it. Byron Fertitti, anything from DPW this evening?
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Julie, anything from the Recreation Department this evening?
Jill.
I'm sorry. Wow. Jill, excuse me, my pardon. Nothing from Recreation this evening? All right. Derek, anything else from Community and Economic Development? Thank you, sir. Cheryl Lynn, anything from the City Clerk's Office this evening?
Actually, I would like to start talking about the February 28th election.
Okay.
Because it's going to be a slightly different process than our residents are used to. It is a presidential primary election. And in addition, for precincts 1 through 7, we have the ballot proposal for the Ferndale Public Schools. This means that in precincts 1 through 7, voters, well, there will be 3 ballots available to voters, and they must pick one. One would be the Republican presidential primary ballot, which would include the proposal for Ferndale schools. Another option would be the Democratic primary ballot, and that would also include the proposal for Ferndale schools. And the third choice would be a non-presidential primary ballot, which would only have the Ferndale schools proposal on it. You have, like I said, you have to, in writing, choose one of those 3 options. The information about which ballot you picked will be public information for 22 months following the election. That is new from the last time we did a presidential primary.
But Madam Clerk, let me, if you don't mind me asking, it was my understanding that the Democratic primary was not going to be until May.
There is going to be a Democratic primary ballot. President Obama and undecided are on that ballot.
And then there'll be another caucus or primary in May for the...
I believe so.
Wow.
That's not my understanding.
That's
All right.
confusing.
It is confusing, and so I'm going to start trying to educate our voters on exactly what they can expect when they go to the polls.
Thanks, okay. By the way, Jim O'Donnell is here from the library board. Anything you want to report from the library, or any status of capital issues?
Not particularly with capital issues, but I do want to let the public know that unlike in prior years, we are going to be open on Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday and President's Day this year, which is a change from the past. So residents are welcome to come in on those days. There's no school on either of those holidays, so the library is a great place to come and bring your kids, or if you don't have kids, come in and check out books and movies.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, City Manager April McGrath, anything additional for us this evening?
Sure. Well, you've already met Jenny Longthorn, so we're very happy to have her on board, and she's been very busy in 3 days, so we're excited to have her. I just want to make an announcement that the DDA is having their planning goal-setting session from 4 to 9 on Martin Luther King Day at the Kulik Center, and encourage anybody who's interested in participating in DDA future plan. That would be a great opportunity to become involved in the DDA. And I think that's all I have for today.
Thanks.
We did enough.
Dan Christ, our city attorney.
Very briefly, I met with DPW on Friday regarding some proposed changes that SACRA would like to see with respect to the city's garbage and refuse ordinance. So council will be seeing some recommended changes probably in 2 weeks' time with respect to that particular ordinance.
Okay. Thank you. Look forward to that. Councilman Martin, your first meeting comments.
Yeah, no, I would just like to thank everyone with the transition of coming on council. April and Derek and Sherilyn and everyone, the staff has just been fantastic getting me on board and putting up with my sometimes stupid questions, I'm sure, but it's just been very supportive, and it helped tremendously with this transition, as well as the support of council, so I greatly appreciate it. I want to thank everybody for coming out today and supporting our new council, including my folks. I appreciate the families and neighbors' support. And lastly, on behalf of the Ferndale Community Foundation, it is time for the annual Taste of Ferndale again, which is the Mardi Gras party that is the principal fundraiser for the foundation. It is going to be at Boogie Fever this year on Tuesday, February 21st from 6 to 9. And again, residents will be allowed to sample signature dishes from restaurants across the city, as well as participate in a silent auction. The Community Foundation raises money and gives it out to area nonprofits and micro grants. So that's, again, Tuesday, February 21st from 6 to 9. Tickets are available from any foundation board member, or you can go to the website at www.ferndaleCommunityFoundation.org.
Great.
That's it. Thank you.
Councilman Lennon.
I would just like to welcome Dan aboard, welcome Jenny aboard. I'm looking forward to the new year. That's all I have right now.
Thank you,
Give me
Councilman.
time.
Councilwoman Piana.
Yeah, a couple things. I just wanted to give council and everybody an update on the Woodward Avenue Transit-Oriented Development Task Force. It's a mouthful, but I also like to call it the Transform Woodward Task Force. And this is the group of elected officials from Ferndale to Birmingham who got together in August 2010 to look at how do we improve economic development to attract jobs and improve the quality of life along the Woodward corridor. And we got a grant earlier last year to look at creating a transit-oriented development study and concept plan that the cities could review and approve. And we are close to having this study done. The task force will be looking at it and approving it this week, and then I'll be sharing that with the rest of council with the hopes of bringing it in late February or early March for a council review and support. So I just wanted to let you know that's going on, and that I'll be giving some background information about what the activities we've done and what to expect in the plan. So until it's approved by the task force, it's just going to you'll have to wait for that. So the other one is that I am a Ferndale Community Foundation board member, and I have tickets to sell for $35. And so please come to me for your tickets, so I can be the best board member possible. And then Dan, welcome to council. I'm very pleased that you are here, and I look forward to a fantastic 2 years.
Thanks.
So I'm up for re-election. See what happens.
Awesome. Thank you. Councilman Galloway.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations, Dan. Welcome aboard here. I sat on the 38th, 39th, 40th, 41st, 42nd, and now 43rd City Council in Ferndale. And of all the folks sitting up here, I think this is really one of our best teams that we've had from one end of the table to the next. And I'm looking forward to working with you, and I think we're going to be able to get some great things done. I would encourage folks to start to educate themselves on the school bond issue that's coming up on February 28th. There's a very informative, nicely put together website, citizensforqualityschools.org, O-R-G, citizensforqualityschools.org. The last time, when we had the Headley override vote, a lot of misinformation got out amongst the community really before the accurate information did. And I'd encourage folks to look through this. There's calculators on here to show you what it actually means to you. There's a rundown of frequently asked questions, list of folks in the community that are endorsing this, and different ways to just inform yourself about why we need to invest in our schools and our kids at this time. So these things are always a bit contentious, but I think for most folks who care about the schools, this should really be a no-brainer. So citizensforqualityschools.org, and don't forget to vote on February 28th.
Great. And I will go last. Just a couple of quick things. I want to reiterate. I want to thank April again for your negotiating skills on the fire contract, and thank our firefighters. I want our residents to know that even though we passed the Headley in May, that did not give us a blank check to continue, to just spend freely, and we continue to try to save money and improve services at every opportunity that we can. And I think this is a great example of where we're going to save significant money without reduction in services there. And so we'll continue to do those sort of things. But I want to thank the firefighters for stepping up last week and ratifying that contract after a long and tough negotiation. I want to welcome Dan to our team. Looking very much forward to working with you. I want to thank the residents for their support of myself and Dan and Mike, and for the confidence that you've placed in us. And with that, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.